'83 was a good triumphant year for them. I think that was their last really good year.
I mean, I'm the same as you. I haven't got any brothers or sisters either, so I couldn't relate to Our House totally, with the lyrics. But I think in a way, even though I said I think now it doesn't belong on the album, I think it kind of did, because it went with the original. The original concept was that the band were each going to write about childhood experiences and memories, and like Carl Smythe wrote this one allegedly about sort of his childhood, but I mean the whole thing was abandoned because I think Mike Barson went off and wrote New Delhi, and Lee wrote, I think it was Lee that wrote Blueskin Beast about the Falklands. So they kind of abandoned the concept, but some of it still stayed in the album. I think Our House is part of that, but obviously becoming such a big hit single, it sort of distances itself from it, But yeah, they had come a long way, because I was sort of first aware of them, I think, from One Step Beyond and those sort of early singles. And as a kid, I didn't really take to them. I thought there was something a bit too jokey and a bit sort of comedy about them. But I think once they sort of moved on a bit after a year, and they were coming out with singles like Embarrassment and Grey Day and Shut Up, which you mentioned, I just started to realise I do like this group, and they do have some good songs. And obviously, as a kid, I did appreciate them acting a bit daft, and it's bound to appeal to a 9-year-old as I was then. But I think I sort of appreciated the songwriting as well, and the sort of great melodies of them.
Let's move on to the other single on the album, which is Tomorrow's Just Another Day, which number 8, am I right here? Tomorrow's Just Another Day, number 8 record, February 1983. Right. And double A side with Madness Is All in the Mind. I always felt that Tomorrow's Just Another Day sounded a little bit like Blackberry Way. There was a little something about it that kind of reminded me of Blackberry Way. I like the song. I don't know. It wasn't like one of their strongest singles. I do like the song. It's not my favorite. I don't feel like this album, in terms of their singles, was one of their best. Madness Is All in the Mind, which is on the other side, I felt had, again, a similar sound to Fever. I felt like it had a similar melody sound to Fever. I don't remember the video for Tomorrow's Just Another Day. Do you?
Yeah, it was the main part of it was based in a prison, because Carl wrote it about his time in prison. So there was a bit of a prison theme to the video. Part of it, anyway. It moves on to other things later. But I mean, a lot of people think of Madness as, like obviously just being influenced by ska and reggae. But I know at least a couple of the band were big fans of the Kinks. I think Suggs in particular sort of always respected Ray Davies's songwriting skills, and so I can hear a bit of that in it. I don't know if it necessarily sounds that much like Blackberry Way to me, but maybe it's because when Tomorrow's Just Another Day was out, I maybe wasn't as familiar with Blackberry Way as I am now. And same goes for Madness Is All in the Mind. I'd not really thought of the similarity to Fever, but now you mention it, I can see it. But at the time, I probably didn't really know that track, so to me, it just sounded like a downbeat Madness song, and I wasn't that keen on it. I mean, I like it now, but it was maybe just a little bit too grown up for me as a 10-year-old, even though I did really like the album, and I can imagine that the album as a whole maybe alienated a lot of the fans who just wanted more nuttiness. So,
my favourite track on the album is Primrose Hill. I thought that this had so much character, and I actually thought quite a northern kind of, almost like that sort of brass band that I associate with the northern part of the country. Really sort of this rolling kind of brass band, and having spent actually a couple of dubious nights sleeping on a park bench in Primrose Hill, I was very delighted to hear this song. And it's a shout out to their hood. They're from that area. They regularly featured Camden Town as part of their promotional thing. Primrose Hill is obviously a very nice section of town on its way up to, Hampstead. And I love this song. This, to me, was the smash. This was the thing that made me... This is the song I'm going to go back to again and again, and absolutely my favourite.
Well, and also the album sleeve was taken on Primrose Hill as well. They were stood on top of Primrose Hill. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favourite track on the album, but it was one that grabbed me when I first listened to the LP. The brass band, as you mentioned in particular, it was so different. The arrangement was so different to any other Madness song, and I think it's still, very catchy. I mean, like I was saying, I can imagine a lot of fans were maybe slightly put off by the quite serious feel to the album, but there's enough kind of catchy. Mike Barson's piano is still very, very prominent. Lee's saxophone, and it's still in keeping with the Madness sound, but maybe they were perhaps seen to be growing up quite quickly. Obviously they'd had two quite nutty sounding singles earlier in the year. I mean, I'm glad they didn't include House of Fun and Driving in My Car on the album, because they just would have stood out like a sore thumb. The album probably would have sold more copies, because I mean, compared to the first three Madness albums, it was a little bit underwhelming. It got to number 10 and spent 22 weeks in the chart, something like that, which was quite poor. That was underachieving for Madness back then. And of course, Complete Madness, their first greatest hits collection, was still in the charts and carried on charting long after Rise and Fall had dropped out. So it seemed obvious that people still wanted the old stuff rather than the new stuff. But I thought it was great.
Pop folk are fickle for sure, as B.A. Robertson once said. New Delhi. It worked as a track. Again, I think it goes to this sort of political correctness thing, and Britain's sort of forever tied with the Indian nations and things of that nature. It stood out as a song on the album that I liked, and it's the last of the 5 tracks that I'll mention as songs that I liked. The 5 songs from the album I really enjoyed were New Delhi, Primrose Hill, Our House. I like it enough. Tomorrow's Just Another Day and Madness Is All in the Mind are the 5 songs from this album which stand out for me as being noteworthy.